In the news this week, is the quality of the voice debate slipping? Our exclusive news poll is underway to find out what you think.
Also tonight, pie in the sky. Ideas of a 4-day work week for WA's public sector workers slammed.
Bringing rural and city people together, the Royal Show unites Western Australians with animals, rides and show bags.
New abortion laws have passed in Western Australia. What will this mean for women's well-being? And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. An exclusive WAMN news poll is underway right now asking your latest thoughts regarding the quality of debate on the Voice to Parliament referendum. The question asks, do you believe the quality of the debate surrounding the Voice referendum has been high and constructive? Around 90% of you says it's low quality, and only a small number of viewers chose high quality or average. The final results of this opinion poll will be released next weekend with analysis of what it means to the referendum debate. You can have your say now on the WAMN News social media pages. Returning to our top story tonight, the 4-day workweek debate for Western Australian public sector workers continue, with political commentators slamming the idea, calling it a pie in the sky. It comes after union leaders renewed their support ahead of wage negotiations with the government. Here's Peter Kennedy's exclusive comment, followed by a rebuttal from Unions WA Secretary Owen Whittle.
The 4-day working week looks good on paper, but what does it mean for productivity? That will be the crucial thing. 4 days, 8 hours a day, 32-hour week, is that what the public sector is suggesting? They work less than 40 hours a week for their 5 days, but if they want 4 days a working week for 5 days pay, that to me looks very rich indeed and very ambitious. Look, Philip Lowe, the retiring Governor of the Reserve Bank, made the point a few days ago that Australia's challenge is productivity. In other words, working more efficiently and increasing our output. To suggest that public servants working a 4-day week of less than 8 hours a day, that's less than 32 hours a week, but getting paid as if they're working 5 days for almost 40 hours, that's, in Australia, that's wishful thinking. That is pie in the sky. That's the last thing that Australia wants. We're just coming out of a period of high inflation. It looks as if we're on top of the inflation, and this suggestion is coming up. This, in other words, working less for the same pay. You'd have to see it to believe it. The public sector unions must be having a joke on the rest of the Australian population. And if the government of the day accepts it, then the government is having a joke on Australians as well. It deserves to be thrown out.
Look, it's definitely not a pie in the sky idea. I think, as I was saying, kind of technology and, kind of a greater focus on lifestyle kind of occurring into our workplaces, I think it's eminently possible. There's been a lot of research that actually many workers, because they are more refreshed and more productive when working 4 days, actually still pump out the same amount of work and are just as productive. It's not to say that there's not going to be difficulties in implementing it in a workforce as diverse as the state public sector, but certainly I think it would be something that can be implemented without a loss in productivity. Look, there would have to be a change in thinking in government to be able to adopt this. And saying that, there would be challenges in terms of adopting it into a workforce as diverse as the state public sector. I don't think there would be a one-size-fits-all ability to be able to do that. You've got everything from schools and hospitals to professional workforces to child protection, workers who are on coal. There's challenges in there, but it's not insurmountable.
The annual Perth Royal Show got underway at Claremont Showground this week with rides, games and show bags to attract children, young people and families alike. Animals and petting farms were a major draw card, bringing country and city people together as farmers shared their passion of raising animals to the public.
It's a beloved annual tradition for Western Australians over 120 years. The Royal Show brings all walks of life into a week of animal petting, farming knowledge, rides, showbags, treats and fun fair at the Claremont Showground. Despite the cost of living issues many families still rocked up for a fun day out.
We're bringing our little 18-month-old girl to go look at the farm animals. I think the kids just getting a little bit excited and seeing something different.
Although rides, treats and show bags easily distract children and young people, agriculture education remains at the heart of the show, where city people can gain an understanding of rural life. The animal nursery continues to be the best attraction where people can touch, feel, interact and learn about farm animals.
I've brought down hundreds of animals from York and for the public to enjoy and hold and pat and just put a smile on their face. And I think it's working already.
It's such a great community event. We have over 5,000 people enter competitions. It's fantastic to have that community feel back. People really invested in agriculture. It's great to have people back. People really invested in agriculture and wanting to learn more about where their food comes from.
But politics are never too far away, with Federal Nationals Deputy Leader Bridget McKenzie and Opposition Leader Shane Love amplifying deep concerns for sheep and cattle farmers over the gradual shutdown of live animal exports in WA.
The Labor senators on the committee had no idea, as farmers yesterday gave evidence about how devastating the impact of the phase-out will be. We've got Agriculture Minister Murray Watt refusing to sit down with WA farmers at the sale yards in their communities to understand the real impacts that this will have, not just at an economic level, but at a social level for these farmers, their families and their communities.
The Royal Show will continue at the Claremont Showgrounds until the 30th of September on Saturday.
Hi there. Are you looking for a new home or want to refinance your car mortgage to get a better rate? At AA Finance Solutions, we have the expertise and knowledge to help you to find the right loan for your needs and budgets. Contact us today. Let us help you to make your home ownership dream a reality.
AA Finance Solutions, your local mortgage broker.
Good evening. An exclusive WAMN news poll is underway right now asking your latest thoughts regarding the quality of debate on the Voice to Parliament referendum. The question asks, do you believe the quality of the debate surrounding the Voice referendum has been high and constructive? Around 90% of you says it's low quality, and only a small number of viewers chose high quality or average. The final results of this opinion poll will be released next weekend with analysis of what it means to the referendum debate. You can have your say now on the WAMN News social media pages. Returning to our top story tonight, the 4-day workweek debate for Western Australian public sector workers continue, with political commentators slamming the idea, calling it a pie in the sky. It comes after union leaders renewed their support ahead of wage negotiations with the government. Here's Peter Kennedy's exclusive comment, followed by a rebuttal from Unions WA Secretary Owen Whittle.
Democracies also need to limit the amount of donations that people can get, political parties can be given, because if there's no limits, then people can, put it bluntly, buy votes. And corporations don't give money for nothing. They give money because they want policy changes, they want access.
The WA government announced a plan to develop Fremantle's harbours to improve accessibility and connection. The development of the harbours is expected to take place over 40 years. According to the government, some of the improvements that will be made are turning part of Muse Road into a plaza that can host events and festivals, making it easier for pedestrians to get to the city centre via internal plazas, and by the Bathers Beach to Victoria Quay route, looking at bike parking and public transport instead of cars, creating super yacht berths and more. There will also be upgrades to create shared paths so that it is less difficult and more safe for people to travel from the train station to the harbour area by foot, bike or wheelchair.
We see that as being a really staged and orderly way of developing for Fremantle. So the importance is the connections. We don't want, old Fremantle to become an island. We don't want to be kind of isolated over here and not have connections through to those places where people are living and working. So it's all about the connections for us.
The State Parliament passed the Cook Government's contemporary abortion law amendments. Under the new laws, the number of health practitioners required to participate in abortion care has been reduced to 1. The ministerial panel for examining later-term abortions has been abolished, and mandatory counselling and ministerial approval for performing late abortions have been removed. Health practitioners are allowed to consciously object, but they must transfer the patient's care and provide information to alternative care access. The gestational limit has been changed from 20 to 23 weeks to align WA with current clinical practices in other states and territories. Although abortion is no longer part of WA's criminal code, the government states that it's still an offence for an unqualified person to perform or assist with an abortion.
This is about putting the patient at the centre. This is about the decision being made between the patient and her clinician, and making decisions that are right for them.
Yeah, look, the South Australian Parliament, they updated their legislation in 2021 and they addressed some really important issues, and sadly Labor as a bloc, with the exception of Kay Doust, rejected all of those amendments.
4 juveniles, including a 14-year-old boy, have been charged after allegedly stealing free guns from a safe. The incident was reported to the police on the 17th, with the victim stating that it had occurred in the previous few days, according to the police. Authorities arrested 4 juveniles at a home in Derby, where the 3 missing firearms were recovered within the Derby town area. The 3 guns were found hidden under leaves in a rural bushland area within the town. An adult man has also been arrested from a home in Derby, establishing links between the 4 juveniles and a recent burglary incident at a hotel. 2 17-year-old boys, a 15-year-old boy, a 14-year-old boy, and a 40-year-old man have been charged with multiple offences. The boys appeared in court this week, while the man will appear in court in October.
And now here's Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. Been a busy couple of weeks for me. I've been to the UK and back for some meetings over there, wearing my mask on the plane always, except when having something to eat and drink, and staying healthy in the process, unlike a lot of the people around me who seem to be coughing up a lung or two on the way to the UK. The importance of remaining vigilant is not only because COVID continues to cause problems, long COVID and acute disease in some people in our community, not only because Australia is still being slow with vaccine rollout boosters. It's time for new boosters to be delivered in Australia at the moment, and it's just not happening. And unfortunately, we're going to see hospitalisations and so on rise as a result of that. But it's also to avoid other things that are around, like influenza and RSV and rhinovirus and so on. And I remember before COVID, I used to predict that I would get a upper respiratory tract infection every time I went on a long trip, and it's been a pleasure to find that masks are quite effective as long as you wear them from the time that you go through the airport processes to when you're up at cruising altitude and the HEPA filters on the planes are turning over, and again when you're on descent, and at any other time that you might be sharing air with one of those coughing people. Once back on the ground in Australia, I've been dealing a bit with my elderly mum and her health issues, and it's a reminder to everybody that it's a really good piece of planning for a family to have talked about enduring power of guardianship, enduring power of attorney, and an advanced healthcare directive. And this doesn't just apply to the elderly, it also applies to any of us because we could become incapacitated at any time, and it's really much more convenient if you can deal with hospitals and with respite care and with residential aged care facilities, knowing that the family have already made some preparations at a time when everyone's not feeling particularly emotionally stressed. So happily we had these things in place for my mum, and we were able to go ahead and make some good arrangements for her without the added stress of it being difficult because there was no one authorised to make decisions at a time when she was quite unwell. Happily, she's on the road to recovery after some recent issues now, and we can relax about things a bit knowing she's being really well looked after, and we're grateful for that, but really worth having conversations ahead of time about those legalistic decision-making aspects of what's going to happen if someone becomes quite sick in your family. Hope it doesn't, but the reality is at some stage somebody will. So enjoy the warm long weekend, and best to you all. Thanks for your time.
Speaking of the Royal Show, what animals did you enjoy seeing, Ivan? Because I loved seeing the baby goats.
I know you love the rabbits too, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things I love the most are the ducks. Now, do you know, and viewers at home, you might not know this, I used to have pet ducks when I was a kid. So I didn't get rid of them until I think in later high school because of avian flu. It was a bit sad, but having said that though, it reminds me of the good old days living in rural parts of the city. And now let's not keep Pugger waiting.
Here's Leo Palisi with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News, campaigning continues from both sides of the Voice debate as new polling shows more falling support and cost of living as the most important issue for voters. Also, NT Chief Minister Natasha Fyles allegedly physically assaulted in the form of a cream-covered pancake in the face. And a Victorian man who survived a suspected mushroom poisoning that claimed the lives of 3 other people discharged from hospital. Watch live whenever you want on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newsau.com. For now, though, it's back to you.
Thanks, Leo. And that's our weekly news and current affairs.
We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au. And don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club, wamnews.com.au/news/extra. Supporting independent local news, keeping democracy strong. From Melly, Peter and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.